Hey there, friends, and welcome back to Furnace Protocol. Welcome to the fifth episode of Furnace Protocol. In this episode, we're going to talk about many things. First of all, we're going to have a recap of whatever we've said before and what happened in the previous sessions. Then we're going to talk about MakerDAO and how it works and what it does and everything like that. And ultimately, we're also going to touch on stablecoins and DAI as an algorithmic stablecoin and how it works and how it operates. And then we are also going to talk about financial fairness and ultimately fairness protocol itself and how it's going to be from this day on. Okay, so let's start. So we've talked about a lot of things in the past four sessions, and today we're finally going to scratch the surface of the Furnace protocol itself and how it is applied to different projects, okay? Note that whatever we discussed in the past four sessions is fundamental information required to know and understand before entering a project and analyzing it, okay? So if someone wants to understand and utilize the Furnace protocol in their analytics and projects, they're required to know at least what was discussed here before. Another thing to note is that the Furnace protocol is a personal creation, okay? Bitpod itself, Barbot itself, has thought of it and developed it and formulated it himself, okay? And he believes that this, whatever we have over here, Furnace protocol, holds true for 99% of the projects out there, okay? It might be wrong, but it might not be as well, okay? That's what Barbara said, that's what he told us, and that's how it is, okay? We don't have any evidence to support it yet. So many of you may not know what the Furnace protocol is and what its usages are and how to determine a project's fairness. However, in future sessions, you will surely understand how we are going to conduct it. We're going to analyze 3 to 4 projects and determine if they are fair or not. By analyzing them using the 4 stats we will discuss, you won't need to perform technical analysis or follow their news at all, okay? So today we're going to start by discussing the MakerDAO project as I said before, and then move on to talk about oracles. The priority is given to MakerDAO since this will debunk the Furnace protocol itself, allowing us to progress with our lessons and analyze more complex projects in the future. We have spent a significant amount of time on the introduction and we still have a long way to go. So let's begin by asking the starting question. What exactly is MakerDAO as a project? Before explaining the MakerDAO project, I should first talk about Maker. Maker is a smart platform on the Ethereum chain that uses a systemic algorithm called CDP to ensure that the price of the DAI token from MakerDAO always stays stable. Okay, that a DAI is a stable coin that is always equivalent to $1, regardless of fluctuations in the dollar and the economy and everything like that. However, the value retention is not backed by any bank or centralized system. Instead, it's backed by Maker's smart platform. Some people mistakenly believe that DAI is backed by the Ethereum smart platform, okay? But that's not true. Instead, its value is pegged to the Maker tokens locked on the Ethereum's chain. CDP, which helps keep the price of DAI stable, is an abbreviation for collateralized debt position, okay? So CDP is the position created by locking collateral in MakerDAO's smart contract to generate its decentralized stablecoin, which is DAI, right? So this system was introduced to the decentralized finance world by the MakerDAO team, and it's how its decentralized stablecoin DAI is created. So how is DAI generated is another question. For the amount of ETH, which is Ether, you store on this platform, the platform generates DAI for you, okay? The generated DAI is essentially a decentralized loan backed by the value of the collateral, okay? To unlock the collateral, a user needs to repay the generated DAI plus the stability fees, okay? Once you do this, you can unlock the Ethereum the ether basically you deposited on the platform. It's important to note that while DAI remains stable and always equal to $1, Ether or Ethereum fluctuates. Therefore, the amount of DAI you get for each Ether varies, right? So, how many DAIs do you get for one Ethereum or one Ether? You can get up to 70% of the Ethereum token's value in DAI, okay? So, if every ETH token is around $4,000, for example, it can get up to $30,000 in DAI. Since every DAI is valued at $1, you can get 3,000 DAIs for your Ethereum, for one Ethereum, if Ethereum is priced at $4,000. Okay, when you want to retrieve your Ethereum or your Ether, you need to repay the same amount of DAI to unlock it. The DAI you return is burned and is no longer used. Okay, however, if the market is unstable and the price of DAI is affected, the algorithm is designed to burn DAIs to maintain price stability, which is also called rebasing if you want to know the official term for it. So once again, let me touch on the on how DAI's price is always $1 at all times. As we discussed, the CDP system is used to maintain price stability. One thing we should mention is that when you return DAI to unlock your Ether in the system, there is a fee to be paid in addition to all of the DAIs you're returning. The process of keeping DAI at $1 goes as follows. MakerDAO and CDP monitor the performance of DAI. If the supply exceeds the demand, resulting in a price decrease, the system reduces the returning fee. As a result, people are encouraged to return their DAIs and unlock their Ethereum or Ethers, okay, leading to a significant reduction in the amount of DAI in the market through burning. This helps restore the balance between supply and demand, bringing the price back to $1. The opposite is also true. When the demand surpasses the supply, causing the price to rise above $1, the protocols increase the returning fee. This discourages people from returning their DAIs, allowing the DAIs in the market to remain and potentially increase, thereby expanding the supply. Through this method, the price of DAI is maintained at $1 at all times. We have previously discussed DAO, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. We have also explored smart contracts and their functionality and how they're created, despite not being truly smart per se. One important aspect of smart contracts is their contract oriented nature, which allows them to interact with each other. Okay, for instance, you can use a smart contract to pay for your daily breakfast, in order to penalize you if you skip hiking after breakfast, and so on. Okay, when contracts are combined and operate based on each other's rules, it becomes a contract oriented process. Another example is the pull together platform, a money saving game where there are no losers, only one winner. Participants contribute money to a smart contract, right? Which then places that money in MakerDAO to generate profits. MakerDAO and Pull Together are distinct entities, okay, but they work together within a contract oriented system. It's worth noting that not only can various contracts connect, but diverse tokens can also be connected, right? MakerDAO comprises a collection of smart contract groups with a singular purpose, creating the DAI stablecoin. Previously, it also produced another stablecoin called Psi. Initially, only Ether could be used to purchase DAI, but over time, additional tokens were added, allowing almost any well-known token to be used for acquiring DAI. The ultimate goal was to maintain DAI's value at $1. DAI's price could have been tied to the price of an ounce of copper or anything, or a gram of silver, or any other asset, okay? But the point was to get the price to remain at that one specific price. During the development of the MakerDAO ecosystem, The dollar held significant prominence as a global currency. However, since the dollar is centralized, many individuals are unable to use it due to various reasons, such as their circumstances, sanctions, or other factors. Okay, the aim was to transform this centralized currency into a decentralized one while ensuring that DAI's value always remained at $1. Prior to this, several other currencies like Ether had emerged and making advancements in the field, but they all operated under centralized systems. The objective was to create a decentralized currency that maintained a value of $1. To achieve this, a system was designed to gather information about the price of Ether and dollars, whether from off chain or on chain sources, and this information helped to determine the value of a single Ether in dollars. Okay. Additionally, a bankroll was required to ensure that there was something supporting the generated money. Thus, the Ether staking system was implemented, allowing users to deposit Ether and receive 70% of its value in DAIs. So, you may wonder why they didn't make it a 1-to-1 ratio where you could receive $1 for every dollar on Ether costs. And the reason for that is the volatile nature of Ether's price, which can fluctuate significantly, right? To maintain stability, it was necessary to deposit more money than the value obtained in DAI, ensuring the generation of additional dollars. In the actual system, there's no borrowing or lending involved, actually. Even though it may seem that way, in reality, you provide collateral in the form of money within the contract, and in return, the contract generates new money as a debt. Okay? It's important to note that all forms of paper money are essentially a form of debt, which we exchange and use for various transactions on a daily basis. MakerDAO simplifies this process within its system. By offering collateral, you can create new DAIs, and when you return your DAIs to unlock the collateral, you don't return them to someone else. Instead, they're burned and removed from circulation. Why should we put more collateral in comparison to the DAI we get? The reason for that is the price of Ether is highly volatile, as I just said. And since we typically lock our collateral in Ether, there are significant risk factors associated with Ether's price and consequently DAI's price. To maintain stability and reduce risk, people usually maintain a collateral to DAI ratio of 200% or even 300%, with 150% being the minimum. By ensuring that the bankroll is always greater than the amount of DAI people hold, the stability of DAI's price can be secured. And as we mentioned, MakerDAO's primary function is to generate money based on the collateral you lock into its platform, creating a stable coin and maintaining its stability as well. However, due to the services and benefits it offers, people also utilize it as a lending currency. Okay, the possibilities are extensive. In the lending process, one of the options available is to transfer your loan and all its assets to another address. For instance, if someone has taken, for example, a loan of X amount and needs to repay, for example, Y amount to the platform within a specific period, they can transfer the loan along with all these details to another wallet. Okay. So, yeah, whether their own or someone else's wallet, by the way. I'm unsure if the same can be done with banks, but this platform makes it incredibly easy to do so, actually. Additionally, it can be used for margin leverage. So let me explain this scenario actually. Imagine you have 10 Ether and you anticipate an increase in Ether's price, right? You deposit those 10 Ethers into the smart contract used as a collateral, which you can still control, right? Then you borrow 5 additional Ethers as DAIs, okay? And convert those DAIs back into Ether. So the result here is that you have 10 Ether as collateral and an extra 5 Ether for yourself, right? Effectively obtaining 15 Ether with the initial 10 Ether that you had, right? This functions similarly to margin trades, with the distinction that Maker is decentralized, allowing for such actions. So in conclusion, the MakerDAO platform serves as a stablecoin generator, right? Producing DAI and maintaining its price at $1 essentially. Many other platforms and DAOs utilize DAI for various purposes and procedures due to its decentralization and the conveniences it offers, such as citizenship platforms or the mentioned game that we just previously, of course, mentioned. So let's talk about another topic though, which is really close to this topic. It's closely tied to this topic, and that is, what does MKR, the native cryptocurrency of a maker, do, and what utility does it provide? So Maker serves as a tool for decentralized finance projects, and one of its functionalities is to create a decentralized lending platform, right? So MKR, as a governance token for the MakerDAO platform, allows holders to participate in voting for crucial decisions within the platform. In a sense, if you possess the MKR token, you have the ability to vote in the legislative process of MakerDAO. To strive for the desired fairness we often discuss, a question arises, right? And that is, why should I, a regular user of the platform and holder of this token, vote in favor of the platform's improvement? What prevents me from voting for unfavorable laws and outcomes, right? And one answer to that question lies in the fact that making poor decisions would lead to losses for MKR and consequently for token holders like yourself, like myself, right? However, this aspect is intertwined with the platform's healthiness and doesn't address the core of the issue we need to tackle. So let's imagine a scenario of an MKR is not listed on Binance. Okay, people continue to use it for lending and borrowing. But there are numerous dissatisfied individuals within Maker, and DAI is not as stable as it should be. Okay, so suddenly news breaks that MKR will be listed on Binance, causing the price of MKR to rise despite the platform's current situation. Right? In such a scenario, people might make incorrect decisions using MKR, and the platform might not perform very well. Yet the price of MKRs continue to increase, right? Hence, the provided answer is inadequate, right? If decentralized systems with a government's token lack a utility token and fail to establish financial consensus among users to make the best decisions and fulfill their responsibilities, they are not worthwhile investments at all. Okay. With that being said, though, the answer to the aforementioned questions can be illustrated through an example. Let's assume Ether is valued at $10,000, and people have purchased, which means locked and generated 200% of the available DAIs, which is like $5,000 in DAIs. At this point, we have a 10,000 ether as collateral and 5,000 in DAI. We are still above the mentioned 150 threshold, okay? And everyone can freely utilize their DAIs. However, suddenly the price of Ether drops to 3,000, falling below the 150% mark, right? And the amount of outstanding DAIs exceeds the total Ether backing it. Okay, consequently, the system faces challenges, and DAI plummets to approximately 40 cents per unit. Right. So the system is designed so that Maker mints contracts, sells them, and converts them into Ether, and supports the existing DAIs. Maker is created and it converts Ether with with the Ether or ETH back in the DAI. Okay, this process is repeated until the market stabilizes and DAI returns to $1 per unit. Okay, throughout this process, individuals who hold MKR will incur losses because the selling and conversion of MKR into Ether significantly decrease the value of their currency. From this, we can conclude that if the system makes mistakes, MKR investors will experience losses. However, this raises the question of why we should retain and invest in MKR if there's a possibility of loss. And the answer is quite intriguing and is connected to one of the foundational principles of fairness protocol, which is every loan we take and every transaction conducted within the system, alongside all the activities involving Ethereum, contribute to the circulation of money used to purchase MKR and to burn it, thereby fueling the system. Consequently, with each action performed within the system, the value of the MKR token increases. Okay, and that's one of the fundamentals of finance as well, because in finance, one of the first things that you learn if you go to the finance school is that money money only works if money is within circulation. Okay, so moving on. Anyway, um, let's now talk about the financial fairness and how this ties into the fairness protocol. So let me explain. This process has transformed the system into a financial game where everyone can win if they fulfill their roles effectively, okay, and make the best decisions for their own profit. Every correct action contributes to the rise in value of the MKR token, while every mistake and error causes its price to drop. So, in simple terms, as holders of the token, if we vote for beneficial decisions on polls, we ultimately benefit from it by receiving more value and money. This is what we define as financial fairness. When everyone fulfills their role properly, they make money. But if they make mistakes, for example, they lose money. As simple as that. The system incentivizes holders to make better decisions, thereby ensuring fairness and its financial purpose, right? Similar to the mining process, right? Actually, where miners know they will incur losses if they make errors. Individuals involved with MKR also recognize this fact. Not only do they perform their roles well, but they also strive to improve the entire system because they understand that they personally benefit from its success, right? So this is why the MakerDAO system is financially fair, in our opinion, at least. The participants are engaged in a win-win game where shortcuts or individual victories are not possible at all. Um, so in this system, either everyone wins together or no one does, right? If I, as an attacker, want to vote for a cause that would harm the system, I would need to pay a substantial amount of money for my vote to outweigh all other participants' votes, right? As a result, the market value would skyrocket, making it nearly impossible, right? However, even if we imagine such a scenario, my vote, along with the money used for voting, would be locked. And when the system is damaged, it would be my money that is spent on the compensation, right? Therefore, no one can undermine the maker system because it simply isn't profitable for them. Unless you're like crazy or you're like an enemy to the public or something, right? So here we arrive at the same conclusion as before. If you separate money from the blockchain, it renders blockchain utterly useless and it reduces it to nothing more than a simple database. So anyway, moving on. Let's just wrap it up. Actually, we have discussed how to determine financial fairness in a project, right? We just did that. Now let's delve into another pillar of the protocol, technical fairness. Okay. So when analyzing MakerDAO from a technical standpoint, there are a few issues that affect the system, with the most prominent one being the inclusion of wrapped Bitcoin, which is a centralized token, right? The reason behind this decision is twofold. It is cheaper to add a centralized structure and it allows for greater profit potential, similar to USDC or wrapped Bitcoin. This particular aspect makes a project not completely fair. Okay, technically speaking, and through analysis, we can conclude that the project is about 80% fair. Okay, however, if a decentralized process could be established for transferring Bitcoin to any address within the Bitcoin structure, and a Bitcoin token with a value of 1 Bitcoin could be created on the Ethereum system, it will solve many trust and fairness issues. Unfortunately, this approach is costly, time consuming, and lacks profitability. Okay, now let's turn our attention to the fairness protocol itself and understand its nature and how a project is deemed fair. Fairness entails the absence of chances for being scammed in the project's process, or that's at least how we define it. Okay, such as in MakerDAO and other cases, it is built upon four pillars: technical fairness, which we discussed earlier; financial fairness, which we explained previously; cultural fairness, which means what is the project's development culture, what are the goals of their development team. Is their ideology fair, aiming for growth, or is it solely focused on short term profits? Okay. And the fourth pillar is social fairness, which means as a client, do I need to provide identification? Are there any records or documents required, which we nowadays call KYC? Can anyone legally prevent me from using the, for example, X project, let's call it? So, as you can see, the social aspect emphasizes the project's complete freedom for users on the platform. Okay. In the case of Maker, it is considered fair, socially fair. Um, Although the high fees make it less accessible for poorer individuals, you know, reducing its social fairness to around like 70-80% something, right? That's pretty much also all we're going to do in fairness protocol. We're going to rate projects or rate their fairnesses, and using these four pillars that I just talked about: technical fairness, financial fairness, cultural fairness, and also social fairness. And that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about, and all that was talked about previously in the Persian episode of this episode, basically, fifth episode of Fairness Protocol. And thank you everyone for listening. It's been a pleasure. It is a pleasure to be here. It's an honor. And as always, I'll see you next time in the next episode.